How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff. It's Monday, and Monday through Friday, we have UAP news here on the channel. So thanks for joining us every day, trying to talk to you guys about what's going on in the world of the phenomenon. And there always is stuff. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about this thing, and we were talking about, he's very interested in it, but doesn't know a lot about it. And then we started talking more about it, and he was just, you could see the look in people's eyes when they realize there's more information out there than meets the eye. And one of these things is this Roswell case, man. It's the one that everyone always talks about. It's the one that is about as mainstream as it gets. It's the one that movies have been based off of and all these other things. And it's like this consistent thing that is always brought up when it comes to the phenomenon. Well, it was not too long ago when you look at it in the grand scheme of things in 1947. Here is the original broadcast, and this is brought to us by Skyfire News, who posted this clip. And the original broadcast of the report when it came out. And I want you guys to listen to this, and we're going to talk about Avi Loeb and what he's talking about with Roswell and the information. Here's that clip.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago.
The Army may be getting to the bottom of all this talk about the so-called flying saucer. As a matter of fact, the 509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazell was the man who discovered the saucer. Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Air Base refuses to give details of what the flying disc looks like. In Fort Worth, Texas, where the object was first sent, Brigadier General Roger Ramey says that it is being shipped by air to the AAF Research Center at Wright Field, Ohio. A few moments ago, I talked to officials at Wright Field, and they declared that they expect the so-called flying saucer to be delivered there, but that it hasn't arrived as yet. In the meantime, General Ramey describes the object as being of flimsy construction, almost like a box kite. He says that it was so battered that he was unable to determine whether it had a disc form, and he does not indicate its size. Ramey says that so far as can be determined, no one saw the object in the air, and he describes it as being made of some sort of tinfoil. Other Army officials say that further information indicates that the object had a diameter of about 20 to 25 feet, and that nothing in the apparent construction indicated any capacity for speed, and that there was no evidence of a power plant. The disc also appeared too flimsy to carry a man.
So it was obviously something that was taken very seriously when it came through, and there was a lot of different reports. And you go in, for people who know or don't know, I got introduced to this topic and am covering it the way I am because of the series that I saw on National Geographic called UFOs Investigating the Unknown. And inside of that, they discussed Roswell, and I also believe in the James Fox documentary, The Phenomenon. They also cover it, and they show some of the old footage of some of the people that were involved in it and talked about how it was clear as day that this was not, as they say, tinfoil. This was not the balloon that was ultimately reported days later, that there was a lot more to it. And similar to some of the reports, again, with the James Fox documentary, A Moment of Contact, when they describe some of the material that they found, this thing, it kind of almost like folds up when you touch it. I think that was some of the reports that came out with that Roswell interview, I believe, in one of those interviews. But there was something more going on, even when they said they took it to get it investigated more so. If it was tinfoil, and right away when they showed this silly balloon at the end of it, when they a couple of days later, why are you taking that to get to Ohio to to get, tested. I mean, come on. What's that doesn't add up. Now, whether or not it was a flying saucer or was it an actual craft, we don't know, but there was more to it. They wouldn't have taken it as serious as they did. And that's ultimately what started the Project Blue Book and all those other things that were happening, and the more sightings and more sightings, and it all started happening after World War II. Well, there's more information every day about this thing that people want to know about, and Avi Loeb, who we've had on this show, that is very vocal about the phenomenon in general. He's a Harvard professor who, the Galileo Project, constantly looking into the sky to look at more things. He was on News Nation, and he talked about Roswell and how important it could be. And here's that clip.
Let's talk about Roswell. You say that data from Roswell could literally change our place in the universe, but that you want to see this data. What exactly would you be looking for?
Well, we have conflicting reports from government, as you mentioned. On the one hand, we had a testimony at the U.S. Congress under oath by David Grush, who says there are programs for retrieval and reverse engineering of extraterrestrial craft in crash sites. On the other hand, you have the former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in the Pentagon saying that they had access to all the information and there is nothing there other than things that they can understand as human-made. And the question is, who is telling us the full story? We can wait for the government to tell us the full information it has. We might wait forever for that. Instead, we know that the sky is not classified, the oceans are not classified, so we could retrieve new information ourselves, and that's my interest these days.
So he doesn't dive necessarily into the idea of, we've got to get this information, here's why it's so important, the particular stuff with Roswell. It's stuff that if you watch this channel and you pay attention to this, you know already. I know already. There's more information out there that we're not being told about what it was. Do you believe it was a balloon? I don't. Do I believe it was an actual craft? I mean, personally, I think I do. I mean, to say it, but that's not to say definitively. And that's not to say that you should. Oh, come on, the facts are there. The facts aren't necessarily there that it was that. I mean, it could be to other people who have more information, right? But to me, it's that initial report that says they took it off, they studied it, they won't exactly tell you what it was. And then anytime it's like days later that they have an opportunity to say, oh, no, say it was, put these pictures there. If it didn't happen immediately, you didn't get those pictures of the guys going, oh, look at this. Then if it was immediately, then it'd be like, it was a balloon. You could see it. It fell out of the sky. They took a picture of it, and I don't know what anybody's talking about. But it wasn't. And anytime you give that much time, then you're gonna give doubt immediately, especially when you know of all the other high-level officials that have talked about this. And I think Avi Loeb is exactly right. There's two sides right now. You either believe the balloons, the people who say, no, this is what it is. We've done the research. I know that you think and you want, and so do we. But we don't have any evidence. Sean Kirkpatrick just told you we got no evidence. So I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And you can very well believe that. And there are tons of people who believe just that. And then there's the David Grush side, which he said. David Grush said, I've talked to many different people, credible people who say these things. And it is my understanding that we have this, and this, and that there's a complete cover-up. That's the side that I tend to lean on. That's the side that a lot of people I see watch this channel lean on. But maybe you're not one of those people. I don't know. What do you think? Because I think Avi Loeb is actually he's very correct where we know that there's stuff flying around in the skies. We know, and you listen to Tim Gallaudet and others, stuff going on in the ocean, and that Tim Burchett, Luna, they want to have a hearing that pretty much covers that because there's so much information about, and there's been so many sightings of the things that are flying around in the sky that ultimately go into the water. So the information that could come from any of that, that's the whole reason we're doing this, right? To find out, can this benefit our species? This information, like whether it's technology, whether it's knowledge, like could it? And that's when I mentioned I was talking to my friend about this topic, and he had said, well, I think that humans could handle it if the information came out. And I said, yeah, I think the majority of humans could. Depending on what was revealed, it could change your ideas and philosophies on what you used to think of. But to me, it's ultimately the penalties that people would pay for keeping the information quiet for so long. They've dug themselves into such a hole where it's like the amount of things that have been held back from people, there's really no excuse or way out of that crimes were committed in order to do this. At least that's what I believe, and a lot of other people may or may not believe. I don't know. But this is ultimately about Roswell and the information that came in and what Avi Loeb believes, and I think that he's right when it comes to, I think that what needs to happen. And it is ammo to those who don't believe. And that is, why do these things, whether they crash, and people will say that they crash because it's a gift. They crash because the atmosphere, sometimes atmosphere is atmosphere, and it doesn't matter what it does. It lands, it crashes. But the question would be, if these things are crashing, why do they always crash in like remote areas? And again, it could be the gift question because they know that that's where we're going to land it. We're going to have these people. But why is it always the people who are, it's the government who's able to get it without the mass population seeing it first? Now, if you go to the Virginia case, and there's a lot of people there who testify that they saw stuff and they're ultimately silenced and whatever it could be. But I think that and Riley and I on UAP Tuesdays, which we'll have our episode out tomorrow, talk about it, that there just needs to be a big, massive thing that happens that's just undeniable. And that's ultimately what Roswell seemed to be at one point in that time in 1947. But I'm so curious to get you guys' thoughts on this. What do you think about Avi Loeb's comments, about Roswell in general? I think the biggest question that I'll have you put in the comments, if you don't mind, is what do you think it was? Do you think ultimately it was a balloon? Do you think it was a ship or technology that they've had for a long time and built future things that we've had out of it? You think it was nothing? What do you think it was? Put your comments in there. Let me know. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 30,000. I think we can get there pretty quick, but you got to hit that button. And you'll be updated on every type of story that we can do here. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.